Downtown in Fort Worth. I'm Tom McDermott, the pastor of 1111 Community. So glad you've decided to join this morning. I hope you're doing well. Register your attendance while you're watching. You can see some spaces there to register. Also an opportunity for giving online. We appreciate the support. Church continues to be in ministry locally and abroad, so we appreciate all of that help. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you give us a comment so we know who's there and who's with you. And also, if you're with us for the first time, we want to send you a tumbler, one of our 1111 tumblers. These things are solid. They're really great. And then one of our face masks as well. But just would love that you're with us, and we just love to send you a gift. So give us your address. We'll get those in the mail to you. And then, of course, if you're watching, you're welcome to purchase one of these. Just get in touch with me, and we'll get one to you as well. Let's see. Coming up in a couple of weeks, Reverend Linda McDermott is doing a study that we want you to hear about. I'll also be doing a sermon series based on this study as well, and it's called Living with the Beatitudes. And that starts on, I believe it's October the 22nd, so you have a couple of weeks, but get online, start registering for that, and that'll be a 4-week study. So we hope you can participate in that. This morning, I have a good friend and a longtime member of our community, Daryl Parker. He's also been instrumental and involved in so many areas of our church, helping co-host the First We Drum programs, and then also now crafting difficult conversations. He'll be in conversation with me, and so look forward to that. Brad's got some music coming up. It's something very new for him, and I know you're going to love that. So it's a good day to be with you all. Hope you're doing well, and thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you in just a minute.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times. Come yet again.
Well, hey everybody. I hope you're doing well today. I really miss seeing you guys. Here's our prayer. Holy One, we speak of you as the ground of our being, but we have to admit that we don't really know how big that ground is. We've been to the moon, we've sailed the oceans, but in our everyday lives, we're actually fairly nearsighted. I don't know, maybe we're afraid or maybe we're just stuck in habits and in ways of being. But we're really thankful for those times when somebody or something jolts us just enough and we find ourselves falling through the realms of our certainty and of our comfort, and we land up in this place of new awareness and new questions. But isn't it true? It is true that after some time, we realize that we are still creatures caught up in this web of being with you and with each other and all of our questions and you. And we give thanks. Amen.
Grass is always greener when the fields are mine, and I'll lose my hero's journey as the years gone by, and this story's still unwritten, there's no sense of time. Oh my, I live out alone, no room for myself. I'm trying to focus, it's my story to tell. I'm human as well, I'm human as well, and I'm running circles, flying high above the ground, and I'm searching out the echoes and the signs of who we are, who we are.
Saints and angels sing songs in the key of life. Moments prisoner trying to live a freer life. Crazy days, we coming like a thief at night. I got my peace of mind telling me to fight. Stay with my A of light, cause we see a light. To the fire next time, I'm gonna need a light to guide me. So much going on outside me. I wonder why we do the things we do. And loneliness in search of solitude. I deal with the same issues that my father do. With every molecule and cell in my body. I'm human as well, but I dwell with the godly. I hardly scratch the surface of my purpose. I have money and I still felt worthless. Hope this earth will tell this story, this journey of mine on the path to the divine. Still searching for signs.
And I'm running round in circles, flying high above the ground, and I'm searching out the echoes and the signs of who we are, who we are, of who we are. Would you kindly tell me who we are? Trying to find the reasons for who we are.
So, hi, everyone. Good to be here this morning with you all, and especially to be here with my friend and guest, Daryl Parker. Many of you all will recognize Daryl, know him well. He's been active, and he and his wife, Laura, have been active in our community for some time. Daryl's been involved in our community with the drumming group, the First We Drum.
Right.
And now with the Crafting Difficult Conversations, which some of you have participated in. We'll get into that a little bit this morning. But also as an engineer and as a data analyst, and in that regard represents sort of something different for me because I'm not that logical. And all of our conversations have always had this sense of logic about them that has always been helpful for me to get some. You have a way of listening so well that helps me keep things into perspective and put them in some kind of order. And so it's always fun to have conversations.
And it's challenging. Try to keep them that logical as well.
It's challenging. Yeah. I get that. And so do they. So also, though, you're recently certified in mindfulness training.
Yeah, correct.
And that's been something that's been so helpful in this time that we're in. Not just COVID reality, but especially this divisive time that we're in. And with Black Lives Matter and with the political scenario that's going on, I mean, the ability to really learn how to listen is something that these Crafting Difficult Conversations have been so interesting on Monday nights. So let's kind of get started into this thing about, thank you for being here, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't formally greet you and say
okay.
Thank you.
I'm used to it, so we're good.
Thanks for being a part of this. So this song that we started off with, it was always, we start with this kind of question, and it's signs. Mm-hmm. And I keep forgetting who.
Jordan Reiki.
Jordan Reiki. Yeah. And he's got this lyric in here that I wanted you to reflect on because it's a way of starting off our kind of what our question is for this morning. And it says, this is kind of in the chorus, I live out alone, no room for myself. I'm trying to focus, it's my story to tell, I'm human as well. And then it says, I'm running around in circles, flying high above the ground, and I'm searching out the echoes and the signs of who we are. What was it that resonates with you about that fits with kind of where you are?
Yes, that's a lot to unpack. So I'm going to try to condense it. For me, that's speaking to our individual journeys, right? The struggles we are walking through alone, growing through alone, but yet we're still connected. The we in that last word and that piece of the lyric that you shared. So it's just how we all journey alone and how we all journey together, and where is our ultimate journey going to take us together?
Together.
Yeah.
So something occurs to me as I'm listening to what you're saying there, and I'm thinking about your story, which I know some of,
right,
and your childhood sort of story. I've been asking this of everybody I interview and talk with. I say the interview; these end up being conversations, which has really been fun. But part of your story is Seventh-day Adventist.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that in light of this idea of who we are as an interdependent, interconnected kind of reality, and who you were growing up in a Seventh-day Adventist childhood.
Right. Actually, I did not grow up Seventh-day Adventist. I grew up Baptist.
Oh, okay.
And not Southern Baptist. It was more of the little more lot more excitement in the service, and holiness. If you think of basically a black congregation, right? Just put it out there that it had a lot of life, right? And so that was where I started. But at a young age, and that's from childhood up until about 10, 15 years ago, I was asking questions at that time about some of the things I was witnessing, just dissonance in behaviors of, well, I'm hearing this, but I'm seeing this after the hours over of being together in a worship service, right? And so the contradictions, just as a child, I just asked a lot of questions of how we're treating each other after this 1 hour together, but in this 1 hour together, we were experiencing something different, right? We're hearing the Word of God, as it's spoken from the pulpit with all the homiletics and energy coming from the pastor. But yet the change after that hour, I didn't see it happening. So I started looking for something as I got older and I could make my own choices, right? Of how do I reconcile that? How can I live out a life that is holding with what's being taught? And so I landed in the Seventh-day Adventist church, and it was a good time. I found what I was looking for, some discipline, guidance, but it was very structured, and I still found myself missing something. And nothing about that church. It was have a lot of great friends that I still have today. It just wasn't working for me and what I was looking for in my personal journey.
Do you have a sense of what that was that wasn't working? I mean, we talk about these sort of places that break us open into a wider reflection of where we are, to quote the line, who we are in this context. What was it that you were starting to?
Yeah, that's a tough one. The thing that showed up, just as you said, that I'm listening to the question is the peace that passes all understanding, the joy that you find in the Lord. I just wasn't finding it. I did not have that peace that passes all understanding. I wasn't finding a change that led me to just every moment in life was filled with joy and wonder. And one of the biggest things I think that caused me to start questioning just where I was and what I was seeking was during the Rodney King trial. I mean, it was riot, much like what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah,
We're
and
seeing
where did you grow up?
I grew up in Los Angeles, right?
Okay,
So not
okay.
too far from Compton, Watts, Los Angeles, little extended part of the county. And but during that Rodney, the Rodney King incident many years ago, when that happened, the city was a war zone. I mean, it wasn't quite like what we were experiencing now. It was probably 10 notches, down. Was 10 notches down from that, and it was bad. I mean, you had fires everywhere, people carrying guns, trying to protect their businesses. People couldn't get out, and I remember sitting in church that following Saturday after that occurred, and wondering to myself, why am I here? And everything is out there. People are struggling, people are asking questions out there, but we're in here. And we're in here safe and singing hymnals. Nothing wrong with that, but that just caused me to question, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking that question, going out and finding something to make a difference after that Saturday service. So, but that was the beginning of the question for me of what's next for me, and then fast forward, it kept going from there.
Yeah. So as you sort of began to ask these questions, I mean, some of these questions were a lot of these questions in context. Were any of these questions in context of what it meant to be black in a divisive culture, in a white sort of?
No. I think at that point I was just asking a question of being human more than anything.
So even then,
being human. I did study history in college, Black history, and so these questions were always there. But I think I've always found myself asking the root question of humanity. And so even then, I was wondering, as human beings, where are we going? Why are we here? Where are we going? I wouldn't say wrong, but what's disconnecting us?
Yeah. This you had shared with me a powerful image. I wonder if you mind sharing it. We weren't sure we were going to talk about this, but I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing how watching Brother, Where Art Thou provided sort of an interesting context for some of these questions.
Right, you're going to pull it out of me anyway, right? So Brother, Where Art Thou? That's one of my all-time favorite movies, and one person that really brought a lot of that movie home was Elizabeth Wills. I remember her singing that one Sunday. But the question,
down to the river to pray.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
wow. And she did we had all the women singing on that one in harmonies. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So, but what struck? So I watched it recently, and what struck me about that movie, it has a lot of powerful messages that if you're not paying attention, you'll miss them. But that at that moment, and given all that's going on right now, I'm watching that scene, down to the river and pray, and people are marching down one after one, side by side, to get baptized in the water and come up renewed, redeemed, and washed of and absolved of all their sins. Look, the three characters running down. I'm gonna go get absolved, right, of all my sin. And so I'm looking at this and I'm watching the purity on one side and these characters laughing about, or not laughing, but finding a chance for renewing of what they had been doing. But I'm watching the holiness and the pious, acts of how everybody's marching down to the water. And they get baptized, they come out, they get baptized, come up. And it struck me that, that doesn't feel good, because right after that scene is the scene when they're burning the cross.
Oh my! Yeah.
Right? And so
Wow,
I'm
yeah.
looking at this and thinking, there's something that's the root of the questions that I'm asking with humanity. If on one hand we serve this all-seeing, all-knowing, all-powerful God, and on the one hand, right after that, we say that, and we see burning of the cross, and they're bringing this guy who had just sold his soul to the devil, right? But they're getting ready to hang this guy, I guess was going to be the outcome. And those two things played with my head a little bit of, well, do you not see that you're marching down to the water, serving this all-knowing, almighty being?
Yeah.
But yet, the thing that really matters, you're looking right past it, and you're going to hang this man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are they missing at the very heart of what it means to be in a relationship with the divine?
Yeah.
What are they missing right off the bat?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this too, and I think we've even talked about this, and I probably should talk about this in 11:11 at times, is this idea of how many of us, or how much universally, how many in the world leverage religion for powerful for powerful gain. We leverage religion for our purposes rather than living into the mystery of what the religion is, and what that means to be living out of that kind of connection with mystery and divinity and the divine.
Right.
But instead we sort of leverage it for our own purposes. It's hard for me to imagine how that cognitive dissonance could exist. That's such a dissonant reality that you describe.
Right.
And we see it even today, right? We see it so much today.
Yeah, I mean, organizations for power, but you're right, the whole idea of minimizing the divine, minimizing some people will call it universe, but minimizing something that can't be contained inside of what we are projecting that divine being to look like through our actions, right? Even today, I mean, both sides arguing with really the ultimate goal, right, in life of humanity, of kind of what that song's talking about, where are we going together? At the root of all of what we're seeing is humanity, of the human being, of us together. Yet this divine being is being shoved into a box, and we're living out who we project that being to look like in our actions.
Yeah. So that God in the box we want, that God hates the people we hate, loves the people we love, is afraid of the people we're afraid of,
Right.
And wants the lifestyles we want and that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is no longer about us; it's more about me and my tribe, I guess.
Right. The we in that song is erased.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So who we are. So it really does echo that question again.
Right.
Are we an interdependent reality and with all of life and one another, or are we just talking about ourselves and our own little tribe and box? And what was that transition? Can you share with us a little bit of an idea? Because I've known you since you started coming to 11:11.
Right.
Which has probably been 9 years, maybe.
Yeah, about 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And prior to me taking over 11:11,
Right.
I mean, but it was what was can you give us an idea of how that transition, because how that transition went from a prescriptive sort of right and wrong binary understanding to a more open-minded? I'm sure it wasn't an overnight thing.
No, it wasn't, but there was a moment, right, that just shattered my reality, right? And it was a big life-changing event, right? Where my family structure was taken apart through divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that I identified who I am, who I thought I was being, was brought into question, because I worked the 9 to 5. I was a faithful, not even a deacon, an elder. I mean, giving sermons every week, right?
Wow.
Running youth groups. I was checking every box of I'm getting it right. And then this event occurred for me. And I questioned myself and everything attached to that. I questioned God, right? God, how, if I'm checking all of your boxes, right? Putting God in the box again. If I'm checking all of the things in life that I ought to be doing, how could this happen? What did I miss? Am I not the loving person that I thought I was? I question everything. And that goes back to that moment of, that's when I met Elizabeth Wills. I hate to keep bringing that up, but that is just the truth of what happened,
Yeah.
right? For
Well,
me.
she's been a guiding light for a lot of folks, I think.
Yeah.
Her music, her voice, her spirit. Yeah.
And so that was the first, moment I just let go, because nothing that I thought was what I thought it was, right? And then I started meeting people along the way that I would probably give a sideways look at in the past because of my religious context,
Uh-huh.
of where you're doing this and you're being that. So I will be friendly to you, but I won't be your friend. I will be with you, but I'm not going to be with you in love and non-judgmental state of being.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was these relationships that I started developing, that connected with my humanity, that I started saying, all the certainty that I thought I needed, I need to let go of that, right? And just cling dearly to uncertainty, right? Because nothing is what I think it is. It's only what I hold it to be, right? The truth that I am able to experience right now, I have to let that go to know that that's going to change in the next moment. And so I let go of all the certainties of having the answers and having the path laid out for me in such a way that it can be taken from me, and then that's okay now, right? It's okay that I don't know the answers to everything that life is holding in front of me, and just live in that mystery and that wonder and that kind of that gray area of life that we are uncomfortable with.
So, what you're saying reminds me of this Rumi quote that I've often used. This little Rumi poem that I've often used in 1111, and we've even have it adapted as a song. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field, and I'll meet you there. And I think one of the other phrases in that poem is, even the phrase "each other" doesn't make any sense. That this idea that how do we get to this place beyond ideas of right and wrong? And so, as you've kind of come from this one place of living as binary, prescriptive kind of reality, in terms of faith and journey, and in terms of growing up in that area that you grew up in, there was definitely a binary sort of understanding of who's in, who's out, who's on the margin, who's not, and this divisiveness. And now you find yourself at this place where you've wrestled with some of these differences as you've come into the 1111 community and finding a wider community, and you're holding this difference in sort of a space of grace, if we use theological language. How has mindfulness now spoken to that for you? How does this kind of fit in this journey to help you hold this dissonance in a way that's less about right and wrong?
Yeah, using that quote in context of mindfulness, it's the word "other" I think that I latch on to is mindfulness, and some of the spiritual wisdoms inside of that lead you to suspending the idea of judgment, the idea of othering, the idea of even being connected to an outcome, or suspending your own ideas about someone when you're present with them. And so, for me, where I'm at today is just the constant practice of letting go of judgment, suspending judgment, paying attention to my own internal dialogue, so that I can be authentically present with what we would call the other, and then realizing that there is no other. The idea of right and wrong when I'm with someone doesn't exist. Just who I'm with is all that's there.
It's so hard to get to that place.
Yeah.
I mean, even in this dialogue that we've been in with the Black Lives Matter kind of consciousness,
Right.
Speaking as a white person, it's how hard it is not to other somebody else, even when you're trying to be positive, even when you're trying to be inclusive, because what you're saying is getting to that place where that otherness doesn't exist,
Right.
where you just don't see otherness.
Right.
Paul, the Apostle Paul, had that text, and I don't know where it comes from right off. I'm forgetting which book, where he says there's neither Greek nor Jew, there's neither slave nor free, neither man nor woman. We're all one in Christ, and that this idea of how do we get to a place where we don't other one another, where we see others as ourselves, where we see, if you want to look at theological language, Christ in all of us, the divine image of God in all of us. How do we get to that place? How does conversation help that? How does crafting a healthy conversation, as opposed to how we get past the difficult conversations, how does that help us?
Yeah, the whole idea of conversation really is about, even when you talk about crafting conversation, the only way you can have conversation is first being honest with yourself. And the only way you can be honest with yourself is listening to the internal dialogue with self, right? Yeah. Even if I'm listening to you and I'm already judging you, that is something that I can latch onto and question and say, well, what is it about that? Because that's what's standing in the middle of what's present.
Yeah.
The connection, the divine. So it starts there, and then listening, asking questions, and being okay with the question and being vulnerable. This is what I'm thinking, or this is how I'm experiencing you right now. I don't want to be there, and so I'm going to ask you a question, and then see what shows back up, and then letting the conversation happen.
I like that. Yeah, that's really very helpful. I think that reminds me of that Martin Buber, Jewish philosopher and theologian, who said that place of meeting where we find God is in that place of meeting, that genuine, authentic place of meeting. But it seems like to really see that is what you're talking about. We have to get past those attachments. We have to be willing to reflect on our own internal dialogue. I was thinking about, as we were talking, we actually have conversations in our head all the time with others that never actually happen outwardly, right? When we see another, already a conversation's going on in our head, this internal dialogue. Right. And we have to get to a place where we can reflect on that and see it for what it is. Right. And then let go of these attachments to be more, I guess, curiosity. Right. And just a sense of a willingness. I'd almost call that willingness to let go a very compassionate act. Yeah. And being okay with that, right? And being vulnerable with that, and allowing yourself to see what's available with that. Yeah. Right? With that curiosity. And without the curiosity, we're just each other in the conversation. Yeah. We'll bring it to a close here, but I know Brad's going to do this song that we've done before called "One Day" by Matisyahu, a Jewish rapper, and it's sort of this same idea of seeing past all of these differences, and it's an idealistic kind of vision, I think, sometimes, but in conversations, it can be a very real experience if we can let go of some of that other stuff. How do you one of the things I've been asking everybody is how you stay grounded in this time that we're in, not just COVID reality, which is testing all of us, but also the divisive kind of binary reality. How do you personally stay grounded? Self-care, right? And through my music, conversation, and allowing myself to have those conversations. And then self-reflection,
daily. I mean, it's a daily, moment by moment, experience by experience, and embracing it all, right?
Uh-huh.
And then being willing to step out again. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. So, thanks, Daryl, for being with us this morning. I really appreciate it. And there's so much we could talk more about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you all to join us on Monday nights at 7:00 for Crafting Difficult Conversations. It's 45 to 60 minutes total max, but it's amazing what seems to start off as something that feels a little unstructured sometimes becomes deeply conversationally healing. There's just some beautiful moments that happen in these conversations. And we often have guests that will come and speak as well and participate in that to help us kind of with where our conversations might go on that day. But every Monday, Crafting Difficult Conversations with Daryl is our host, and it's at 7. You can find the link at fumcfw.org, and then just scroll down the front page there of the website, and you'll see a link for Crafting Difficult Conversations and join us. Brad's going to bring up the music in just a second. Daryl, again, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
I always enjoy visiting with you, and we're going to do some more again because this is such an important thing for us to get to this place of conversing openly and comfortably. So thank you all for being with us. We'll see you soon. Blessings on you in this coming week.
All right.
Sometimes I lay under the moon, I thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray to take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it will all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. It's not about win or lose, 'cause we all lose when they beat on the souls of the innocent. Blood-drenched paper, keep on moving though the water's still raging. In this maze you could lose your way, your way. It might drive you crazy, but don't let it beat you, no way, no way. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday we'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. One day this all will change, treat people the same. Stop with the violence, down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun, singing songs of freedom like. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say we don't want to fight no more. There be no more wars, and our children will play.